Greetings, Legionist. This is Arndelft. So for the last couple of weeks, as I've been playing a lot of Vermintide, I've been getting a few ideas rumbling around inside my head that I'd like to go ahead and share at this junction. And if you haven't played Vermintide, oh, it is a really fun game. If you liked Left 4 Dead, you will love Vermintide. It, in my opinion, is a superior version in almost every way. It's got so much more in-depth weapon systems, upgrading, just, working your way up. And it's honestly, it's an interactive way to explore the fantasy universe of Warhammer, which, I didn't know a whole lot before I got into Vermintide. I knew a little, but yeah, I've been sincerely enjoying it. Now, as for my suggestions, we've been hearing that, well, not so much hearing as, getting rumors about an expansion to Vermintide that either will be Chaos or will be Undead. And both of those options are like really fragging awesome. But I've been wondering, maybe they just haven't been generating ideas or other whatnot on Vermintide. And I'd like to go ahead and suggest a few. The first being for Undead. If you decide to go with the undead route of things, what you could do with some of the, like the waves and whatnot, the creatures that you have coming at you, besides simply being the undead skeletons, the special undead could be things like necromancer apprentices. And these necromancer apprentices would do certain things to weaken you or poison you or, sapping your health. And sometimes they would, just be like knocking you back with painful waves of life-sapping energies, things like that. One particular one I thought about would be a mage who would literally, he'd try and sit back at a safe distance, and he'd slow you down. He'd literally slow you down, and that's what he'd be doing. And, basically sapping your vital energy and causing you to slow down. And so these the undead warriors are slowly overwhelming you unless you can kill him with a ranged weapon, or if you manage to get up close enough to him to kill him. And I don't know if they would like to program him to... I know sometimes the gunner Skaven will move around, but even if you come right up next to them, they'll never run away from you. They'll just try to shoot you point-blank range. So I don't know if he would ever try to run away from you if you got up close or anything like that, but... and it's not like it'd be this instantly you're moving ultra slowly. It'd be suddenly this very slow, this build up. You start to notice you're not moving as fast, and if one of your party spots him, they call him out, which type of necromancer apprentice he is, and so on. And necromancer apprentice is about the only idea I can come up with for names, like what type of specials undead would be coming at you. I know that they're like, when I read some of the lore for Constant Drakenfels, one of the things he did was, and spoiler alert if you haven't gotten to that part in Vermintide where you've picked up his lore, but what he did to prolong his life was to basically, out of chosen victims, he'd like use their bodies or patch bodies together and use that until they were used up, and then he'd move on to another body and whatnot. So I was thinking, sometimes you could come across a necromancer who was like more built up than his fellows. He was like, a bunch of bodies stitched together. Or actually, that could be his abomination. That could be something you'd have to deal with. An actual stitched up bunch of bodies, coming at you, sort of like the rat ogre. But one extremely unique concept I thought about that wouldn't be like a duplication of any of the Skaven specialists, because that idea about the abomination of all these bodies being stitched together and the necromancer sending it at you is indeed a duplication of the Rat Ogre. You know, just another tank, big, ugly, can completely disrupt your party, need to kill it. I was thinking that there would be a more skilled necromancer apprentice, or straight up just a necromancer, who summons up waves of undead to fight you. So literally, until you get to him and kill him, you're having waves of extra undead coming at you and fighting you, and if you don't get to him quickly and kill him, you could be potentially overrun by more continuous waves of undead that will slowly just wear you down non-stop. And in my opinion, that would honestly be a really interesting take, because one of the worries is for when they come out with an expansion for Vermintide is that they'll just duplicate all the Skaven specialists with the Chaos or Undead specialists. They'll just be, you know, the exact same thing, just a different skin on it. That's a sincere worry that XL Pudding and I have had. So we've been trying to brainstorm ideas to suggest to them about something different, something, you know, a bit of a curveball that they could throw in. And that idea is definitely not something the Skaven have. So I'm a really big fan of that particular idea. Now, another idea, and last one I currently have for Vermintide, is introducing a new character. And it was one I had heard rumored was in Vermintide to begin with, much to my sad disappointment I found out it wasn't. And that is the Slayer. Bainstrom, a friend of mine, made a thought that the dwarf in Vermintide was a Slayer. And then I described him, it's like he doesn't wear any armor, you know, blah, blah, he's basically a berserker, that kind of thing. Is like, oh, this dwarf wears armor, so he's not a Slayer. And I would suggest actually bringing in a Slayer. Now, one of the interesting things that could be about the Slayer is the fact that he doesn't wear any armor could mean that he more readily takes damage. But also, an ability of his could be maybe that as he takes more damage, he also deals more damage. Maybe depending on the weapon he's wielding. Maybe you'd have a certain weapon that would be based off of, you know, taking more damage and dealing more. Or trinket or something along those lines, or just a base character trait. But another trait that I had in mind for him was that as, you know, the Slayer is running around with the party and whatnot, if he manages to get hooked by a hook rat or hit by a gutter runner, he would have the ability to, what I'm basically saying, resist them. In other words, he could kick the gutter runner off, or, you know, fight him, slow down his hitting him and whatnot, because he's a Slayer. He's like freaking beastie, he's uber strong, resilient, bad attitude all the way. And for, like, if he gets hooked by a hook rat, he could actually slow the hook rat down. Like, oh no, you're not just dragging me off somewhere. And potentially, possibly drag the hook rat where he wants to go at the cost of it doing more damage to him. That kind of thing. You know, the more you fight the hook rat, the more damage it's doing to you. But you could potentially pull it towards your party in the hopes that they would then be able to kill the thing. And this is all ideas that I've been processing about Vermintide to give it some unique, interesting twists. Because in and of itself, it was a different take on Left 4 Dead. And I'm a huge fan of Left 4 Dead, and having an integrated weapon system where you can upgrade weapons, scrap them into basically what I'm calling chips, and then use these to reforge new weapons or change or unlock traits for higher tier weapons. The list goes on and on for a while, but I honestly would love to see some new interesting things enter the expansion. But one thought process I've also been having maybe is I'm hoping that the next one they come out with won't exactly be a number 2 and completely separate from Vermintide. I'm hoping that it will be connected to Vermintide, be an expansion of it, a full-fledged expansion. And what I'm also hoping is that it will have this, oh darn it, a random element sometimes, where you could be doing a Skaven mission, and all of a sudden, you know, there would be, instead of you running in there and finding Skaven, you would find undead, which, you know, would suddenly be like, oh crap, I wasn't thinking this, you know. It would be a random element sort of thing that could happen. In other words, maybe on a higher skill difficulty system, or just a completely different kind of system where you go, like, you purposely go, I could face Skaven on this mission, or I could face undead on this mission. You randomize that. It's just some ideas I've been thinking about, and I genuinely like to get people's thoughts and, you know, feedback on this. Is this something that you would like to see in Vermintide? What are your own ideas? You know, let me know down in the comment section below, and if one of the developers for Vermintide happens to see this, please let me know what you think of my ideas. I'd love to throw more at you and generate, you know, different ideas based off your feedback, you know, and whatever anybody likes, dislikes, you know, please let me know. In any case, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. I mean, the more thumbs up we get, the more likely a developer from Vermintide might see it, and that would be absolutely awesome. And if you dislike this video, you know, please just tell me why. And if you are new to the channel and genuinely enjoy this kind of content, please consider subscribing. But in any case, don't y'all get into too much trouble or do. It's always up to you. Toodles!